What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sports Spectrum, and it's always wonderful when we can get a guest back on the show. We actually had Emmanuel Acho on with his brother way back in the infancy of this show, back in April of 2017. And today we get to invite the New York Times best-selling author to Sports Spectrum. Emmanuel Acho, New York Times best-selling author. Is this the first interview you've done where somebody's called you that, man? How you doing?
Yo, Jason, I don't know if I'll ever get used to New York Times best-selling author, but thank you, man. It's good to see you, brother. People that are listening, me and you go way back, man.
Yeah.
2016, the broadcast boot camp, the infancy stages of my career.
Seriously.
So it's good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too. And I remember the last time I actually saw you in person, it was at Radio Row in Miami at Super Bowl week. And you had this knee injury that we don't really have to talk about if you don't want to talk about. But if I told you then that by the end of 2020, because I saw you, it would have been what, January or February 2020, that you would be on a podcast talking about being a New York Times bestselling author on a book that you wrote with Oprah's production company, a video series that's reached 70 million people now. What would you have said? Would you have believed me? You would have laughed just like you're doing now.
Dude, there's no chance. Man, I might have believed you, but definitely not about the topic. Like
Right.
I didn't choose to be ushered into this space. I was trying to, write love stories, unscripted love shows, stuff like that. I wasn't trying to be a leader in the conversations of racial reconciliation. That's not, I didn't wake up one day like, here's what we're gonna do. Have uncomfortable conversations. Like, Jason, that was not at all the goal. But God had other plans, man. God had other plans.
Yeah, he did. I got to say too, is it weird that people now suddenly know who you are and it has nothing to do with football?
Nothing to do with sport. Dude, it's crazy.
So
The
weird,
crazy
right?
story, I was walking through a grocery store called Gilson. There's a grocery store out here in Beverly Hills, LA, wherever I live. And this woman came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I love your show." And then a man walked up at the same time right next to her and said, "Yes, I love your show. You and Marcellus Wiley are great." She's like, "Honey, I'm talking about uncomfortable conversations." And that, Jason, was when I knew I had a weird life. Like, the wife knew me from Uncomfortable Conversations, and the husband knew me from the sports show I host. And I was like, my life is different now.
I remember talking to Emmett Smith. This is years back at ESPN, and he had just done Dancing with the Stars. I don't know if you remember that. It was like
Yep.
2006, 2007. And he was telling me that he had all of these older women, like 70 and 80 years old, coming up to him and having no idea that he was the NFL's all-time leading rusher because they saw him on Dancing with the Stars. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's that. Now I love it because I never was identified by my football career. Like, personally, I never viewed myself as that. That was my career. It wasn't who I was. It was what I did. So for me, it's amazing because I never took pride in that.
Yeah, I remember talking to you. It was right after George Floyd and everything that happened there. And I was texting with you and just asking you. I was one of the probably hundreds of people that were texting you and asking, like, what can I do as a middle-aged white dude? How can I help? What should I be doing at this moment? And you said, I got an idea here. Just hang tight and you'll see pretty soon. And it ended up being Uncomfortable
That did
Conversations. Do you remember that?
happen.
Yes, it was crazy.
Yes.
And it was this
Yes.
video that came out. But I'm wondering if you remember the moment when you were like, I got to do something here. Just do something. Even if you didn't have it all figured out yet, the moment that you
So
needed to do something.
I do. I was walking around my kitchen, and I was downstairs in my kitchen in Austin, Texas, and I was just pacing. I was just taking laps. And I said, I got to do something. I don't know what, but I have to do something. Okay, what am I good at? I'm good at speaking, and I'm good at bringing people together, black and white people. This is what I'll do. I'll start a show called Questions White People Have. I'll get 3 white people together and 3 black people together. So I called Rachel Lindsay, the first black bachelorette. And she's like, "Yo, I'm game, Acho." I said, "Great, Rachel, let's do it tomorrow." "Acho, I live in Miami." "All right, let's do it in 2 days." I can't get there for 7 days from now." "Oh, okay, I'll just do it myself." And so the show was originally going to be called Questions White People Have. I
Yeah.
couldn't get a group of white people and black people together. So changed the title to Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. and just do it myself, man. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's listening to this and has not seen the videos, which I can't imagine they haven't, but they're amazing. And it turned into this incredible series and it kind of blew up on its own, right? Like you put one video out, it goes viral, not just viral, not mini viral, super viral. And then McConaughey is DMing you and saying, dude, I want to be on your show. Like it just went nuts over the next week, right?
Dude, after the first episode, within like 4 days, I think I had like 25 million views. I got a call 6 days later on a Saturday, Matthew McConaughey. Acho, McConaughey speaking. McConaughey, like Matthew McConaughey? He's like, I want to have a conversation. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll record the next episode in 4 days. Let's do it on Tuesday. Let's do it tomorrow. Okay, McConaughey wants to do it tomorrow. We do it tomorrow. So then I do that episode. Then Chip and Joanna Gaines, HGTV stars, I saw that they had reached out. So I was like, hey, I'm in Austin. Y'all are in Waco. I'd love to have a conversation. Jason, they said, we have one request. I said, anything. They said, we want our children to be involved. I said, sure, why not? Yeah. Next thing you know, I get a call from Oprah. Then I get a call from Roger Goodell, Jennifer Aniston, and Reese Witherspoon had reached out. And I'm just kind of like, okay, we're here now. Let's keep it going.
And now 5 months later, I'm holding in my hand a book with your name on it called Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man. Emmanuel Acho, New York Times bestselling author, is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. I think I have a really dumb question, but I want to ask it anyways and just put it out there and see what your answer is. Do you think if COVID hadn't happened, that the reaction to George Floyd would have been the same, that the reaction to your videos, that your video would even have happened, would have been the same had there not been a COVID pandemic going on? What do you think?
Not at all. Not at all. My videos wouldn't have struck a chord. The George Floyd situation wouldn't have struck a chord. The COVID allowed and caused America to sit in the stench of its greatest sin, to sit in the stench of its greatest error, which is racism, which is racial inequality. Because of COVID, let me get even more detailed for you because you my guy, Jason.
Yeah, buddy.
I posted my video on a Monday, okay, on June 2nd. Yeah, maybe June 2nd, June 1st, something like that. Maybe June 1st.
Yep.
I didn't realize the next day was Blackout Tuesday. Had no idea. I know what Blackout Tuesday was.
Yes.
Blackout Tuesday, for those listening, it was the day that everybody posted a black square on their Instagram and you were to go dark on social media. Well, Jason, because I posted my video on Monday and nobody posted any content on Tuesday, my video just starts getting circulated because nobody is posting content. All of a sudden, I have 12 million views on Instagram, a site that is not a sharing site by nature.
Right.
12 million views. I only had 40,000 followers at the time.
Wow.
So this isn't like I am, Jennifer Aniston with 37 million followers getting 12 million views. And so everything had to happen for me, particularly how it happened.
So your book's called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Your series is called Uncomfortable Conversations. What's been the most uncomfortable conversation that you've had in the last 6 months?
The most uncomfortable conversation was probably when I sat down with the Army of Police officers, 25 white men in Petaluma, California. Petaluma, California, population of 60,000, less than 1% white, less than 1% black. The first question I asked them, I say, when was the last time you all sat down with a group or an individual black person, dinner with black people? They said, I don't know that I ever have. I said, this is about to get uncomfortable. At that point in time, I realized, I'm in uncharted territory with them and myself. And so that was probably the most uncomfortable conversation that I had.
So much of this year has been about having our minds renewed. A lot of this book is really about renewing our minds, opening our hearts. And I read the book in 2 days, dude. I mean, it's an incredible book. I told your
Jason,
your
is that real though? Is that
very
so
real?
Many people say
yes.
that. I'm like, how do y'all read and do? I guess I read my brother's book in like a day and a half, but he was my brother. So I'm like,
Right. But you're my buddy. I've known you for a while. So I'm reading through it and I'm like, I'm still going to keep going here. And I knew I was prepping. You see what I'm doing here for our interview, but I'm blown away that this could be put out in 5 months time. I mean, I've written 2, as you know, and those took me 2+ years to write, and you banged this thing out in 5 months. It's an incredible accomplishment, bro. Seriously.
Dude, when people say that, like I instantly get PTSD of like writing and like most importantly, people don't realize this. I told this story though. I couldn't talk for 3 days in the last 3 months because I popped a blood vessel in my vocal cord because I
Hmm.
was talking so much. Uncomfortable conversations, my sports show, Zoom calls, podcasts, phone calls. I couldn't talk for 3 days. 3 days before my Roger Goodell interview, I didn't talk. True
Really?
story. The first time I talked was on the day I spoke to Roger Goodell, commissioner of the NFL. And so, Jason, it was just tireless work. But I knew there was a moment, and so I knew I had to be used in the moment.
So in the past 6 to 8 months, so much has happened, and you began the Uncomfortable Conversation series, and so much, like I said, is about renewing our mind, changing our heart. Is there anything that you've changed your mind on in the past 6 months or so?
That's a good question. You know, people ask me that, and the only thing I've really changed my mind on is the fact that white people are really ready to change.
Mm,
That's it. Like,
yeah,
Jason, I was immersed in white culture growing up and immersed in black culture growing up. So I'm fully functional speaking white culture and black culture. And it's not a literal language to those listening, it's a way you navigate society. So people like, have you learned anything in your conversations? I'm like, no, not really. Like, but I knew everything. Like, I knew everything. Not to be like I'm a genius, but I was immersed in white culture. I know white people, all levels of them. Then I was immersed in black culture. I know black people. I'm Nigerian American. I know Nigerian people. I'm just acting as a conduit for these conversations. But what did I learn, Jason? I learned that hearts are being opened, minds are being opened, people are willing to be receptive.
that's really good and well said. Emmanuel Acho is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Let's go into the faith side a little bit here. What's the Lord shown you this year as far as stewarding the amazing doors that have opened for you, these opportunities, which, for such a time as this, as I say, you and I were actually talking in June, and you said, this is Esther. This is that Esther moment for me. And you wrote about that even in your book. And I remember you saying, I can see doors opening that I could never imagine. And this is, I think, before your phone call with Oprah. Like, you just
Yeah.
knew something was going on here, something was happening that God was doing. So what's he shown you this year as far as stewarding all these amazing blessings that have come your way?
Oh, this is a whole episode in and of itself, but let me try to keep it tight.
Yeah.
He has shown me that when he calls you, say yes. Like, here I am, send me. He's shown me that. What do I mean? Jason, the first episode, a dear white friend of mine drove from Dallas to Austin to do it with me. She was going to ask me the questions, I was going to answer them. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it was supposed to be uncomfortable conversations with a black man, not an uncomfortable monologue. The first episode, I'm sitting by myself, not by choice.
Right.
An hour and 6 minutes before I was supposed to be in studio, my friend bails on me, has a change of heart. So now, Jason, 5 minutes before I'm supposed to record, it's 9:55, it's 10:55. I'm supposed to record by 11. I get a text from a black colleague of mine. Emmanuel, I really don't like this idea you're doing, questions white people have. Why are you helping white people assimilate in our culture? They didn't help us assimilate into theirs. So now
Yeah.
that's two things that are telling me not to do it. After my white friend had a change of heart, I texted another white friend, hey, can you please just sit here and ask me these questions? Oh, my 2-year-old is teething. I can't do it. Jason, I was like, God took every crutch from me
Yeah.
and made me do it myself. Like, I was scratching and clawing for help from anywhere. And God was like, nope, not gonna happen. Nope, not gonna happen. Nope, not gonna happen. I probably wouldn't have done it. Um, or it wouldn't have been as good had God not at the last second pulled a friend who I'd rehearsed with from me. So he's really just shown me, like, when your calling calls you, pick it up.
Hmm.
And my calling called me, and it was now time to answer.
So as the calling calls you, it's still important to have, and I heard you on, by the way, with Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson. Like, are you kidding me? Emmanuel and Sam Acho are on with Goldie and Kate, and I'm listening to it. It was a fascinating conversation, but you guys talked to them about your faith. They asked you about it, and you mentioned that it was about relationship, not religion. And we know this,
Yeah.
obviously, as brothers in Christ. So how does that relationship stay a relationship when the world's coming with all of this,
Golly.
with all of this
Um,
newfound fame, if you want to call it that?
Man, number one, you better have your roots planted deep into the soil. I didn't realize I was about to pop off. I was actually in between jobs, my old job to my new job when all this happened. So I had a lot more time just to spend with God, had a lot more time to spend in the text. And then when I pop off, now I have a lot less time. The thing I remembered, and I was even thinking about it earlier today, the verse, he must become greater and I must become less and less. Just kind of reminding myself, like, this is not about me. But the beautiful part of this story, and it's kind of like so many great biblical stories, when people ask me how it happened, it's hard for me to not mention God.
Right.
Bro, you don't get 25 million views off sitting in a white room by yourself because of you. Oprah doesn't call you because of you. Like, I'm talented, but I'm not that talented. Make no mistake about it, please. And so I didn't even want to do it myself. The fact that I did it myself was a God thing. So it's near impossible for me to tell the story without mentioning God. And so how has the relationship changed? I think it's just gone from, it's just kind of ebbed and flowed as far as the quick highs and buys to the longer highs and buys. The more frequent and quick highs and buys. Look, I end the book, and you have it on you, so you can literally read it. In the end of the acknowledgments, I think I say, I end this book how I begin every episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by thanking God. What's it say? Do you have it?
I'm looking for it here. I'm looking
at the very end of the acknowledgments. It's the last thing I say at the end of the book. I don't know if acknowledgments comes before all the
I'm humbled to have been able to write this book and facilitate this message. I'm grateful that you chose to come with me. Let's continue to change the world. Is it right before that? Oh, here it is.
Right before that.
I'm honored that God's equipped and called me to be a messenger in this moment. Jesus' love for me has set the bar for the way in which I'm called to love people and the way in which I'm called to love you, the reader. Lastly, I end this book the way I start every episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Anything I do of significance by thanking God. I'm consistently referred to this season in my life as my Esther moment. Powerful.
So bro, I literally, now it's really just like, all right, God, you're my secret power. Like, before every episode, I start every episode like this. I put my head down, I close my eyes. My guest is there just looking at me, probably wondering what the hell is about to happen. Because it's a different show. Yeah. I close my eyes and I just sit there. And I just talk to God briefly. And then I go, 3, 2, and I open my eyes and say, welcome to another episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. That's how I start every episode. It doesn't matter. Like, Chelsea Handler was sitting there quiet for like a minute, 30 seconds. Just like when I look at the behind the scenes cut, she's just sitting there looking at me. Because the cops, I'm in a room of 25 cops, and my eyes are closed and my head is down and I'm just like swaying. And then finally, as soon as you hear 3, 2, you know we're about to ride. Wow. And so, yeah, man, that's what life is now. It's just kind of the quick talking to God before the show starts.
As we wind down, I figured I would also bring in a second book that I have. I have 2 Acho books in my hand here. Sam and Emmanuel both have books. Dude, how cool is that you and your brother are both authors now, right?
It's crazy, man. I'm so proud of him. His book is amazing. I'm sure you've had him on already, so I don't, but like, his book is actually amazing.
It really is, yeah.
It's between the storytelling, and it's such an easy read and a fun read, and just telling people to be their authentic selves. It's amazing. That book I read in a day and a half. It's awesome to be able to go on this journey together, borrow some wisdom from him. Hopefully he's borrowed some from me, and be able to support him through the process as he supports me through the process, man. It's such different book journeys. Yeah. Like, he was working on his, so I think for 18 months.
Yes.
I was working on mine for 6 weeks. Vastly different book journeys, but amazing nonetheless.
Well, I love it. And Emmanuel Acho is our guest here today. Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. If you haven't got it yet, please go out and get it. I think you said it sold like 30,000 copies in the first week. It's a New York Times bestseller. Only God, right? I mean, it's just incredible. Such a cool story. I want to close with this. So the majority of the people listening to this show, as you know, are followers of Christ who love sports. And it's interesting. We could talk about another half hour about sports, because I can only imagine how you've had to wire your brain from talking about this to going on Fox and talking about sports, and how crazy your brain must be yelling at you right now. Like, give me one thing, not 10,000 things to be talking about here. But as you think about our audience, followers of Christ who love sports, what's the main message you would like those believers to hear regarding this topic, the Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, but regarding race. What would be the message that you want to leave us with?
Don't take a passive aggressive approach. As believers, sometimes we can take the backseat and just say, oh, well, Jesus saves. It's not about race, it's about grace. It's not about skin, it's about sin. It is about sin and it is about grace, but it is also about skin and it is also about race, because these things are playing themselves out in skin and racial issues. So don't just take a passive approach, not even passive aggressive, passive approach to, well, Jesus will just come fix it all. Sometimes Jesus uses people to do things. How beautiful are the feet of those who carry the good. Sometimes Jesus uses people. You might be one of those people. So don't just sit back thinking, well, Jesus will deliver. Jesus will. No. He who knows what is right and doesn't do it, this is sin.
Mm-hmm.
My book is to help people know what is right. Now that you know better, like Maya Angelou said, it's time to do better. So that would probably be my message to my brothers and sisters in Christ who love sports, who want to be a part of the betterment in the world.
Yeah. And you're doing some great things, my friend. He is Emmanuel Acho. Get the new book, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. New York Times best-selling author. I'm just going to keep saying it, man.
Jason, thank you, brother, man. Good to be with you.